Okay, practice test cross question 2, page 11. So these are test cross, very similar to the previous questions we just did, where we were looking at an unknown parent, where we don't know the genotype of a parent. We can't do a Punnett square. So these are also known as test crosses. And I'll show you the distinction between those two. So let's go through this. Another white colored female sheep. Now, this is, again, assuming that you remember what that legend was. We remember that white wool was dominant to black wool. So let's just pop that in really quick. That would be our first step, the legend. Now, in a test environment, they will give you that information somewhere in the question. You will have to come up with the legend, but they'll give you who's dominant over recessive. You're not expected to know that. This is just based on some other information we've done before. So there's our first step. Let's underline the parents. Another white colored female sheep is test crossed with the homozygous recessive. Now, if you remember, test cross are always done with the recessive individual. So the recessive trait, that individual, it's always done with that. And the reason why is because we know that if it's a recessive trait, we know the genotype. You don't have to do no genetic analysis to find out what the genotype is. If it is a black sheep, we know the genotype, little w, little w. The white one, however, is the unknown. So we know she has a capital W, but again, in the question, they don't say if she's hetero or homo, so we put a line to represent what we don't know. Can't do a Punnett square because you can't isolate the gametes because there are no gametes for that one. We don't know what it is. So we're going to do the test cross. So let's just transfer the parents here. Again, not all questions will tell you who you're test crossing it with. You must know that a test cross is always performed with an unknown parent and the other one being a recessive individual. So that would be little r, little r. Same type of questions as we did before where you don't know the genotypes. You look at offspring. So 100% of the offspring are white. What is the possible genotype? So if all the offspring are white, we don't see any recessive black ones in there. We must assume now that that female is homozygous dom because that will always produce white offspring. And just to test that, let's just pop that in there real quick. Capital W, little w, little w. You can see that all of these, always put the dominant allele first. All of these are going to be white. So that holds true. Now the reason why the question says possibly, because this is all random. We don't actually know. Maybe the 5th time you mated these guys, all of a sudden a black offspring appears. Then you'd say, okay, now we have new information. We can go back and we can change this. But possibly right now, the only thing that we can deduce from this, because they're always having 100% white, is that she's going to be homozygous dominant. Capital W, capital W. Okay, thanks guys. Any questions, give me an email.